Well then, Benny boy, here we are on the protein.
On the protein, well, supposed to be.
So what is this? Is this like a training camp or just a pre-training camp or just a bit of fitness?
Do you know what it is? We've been coming over here for years, and Tyson signed with MTK, fantastic facilities and good weather. So, you know, people go back to work on the 4th, the 5th, the 6th. We went back to work on the 1st. It's what we do for a living, and we take it seriously, and we do it full time, you know. The past 12, 13 months, I've lived with Tyson. I've probably been home 2-3 weeks of that. So
you're desperate to get back then, straight away.
Do you know what it is? Like I said, it's what we do, and without it, for Tyson and for myself, without routine, for anybody, without routine and structure, people go crazy, people lose their minds, and people start to deteriorate. And you see it with people when they retire, when they get older, or they lose their job. You know, it's having that routine and that structure that keeps you sane, and the human body needs it, the human body needs it, the human mind needs it. It's very important, and like I say, this is just what we do for a living.
It all started here, didn't it? The Ben Davison, Tyson Fury collab.
Yeah.
It kicked off in Marbella a couple of years ago, didn't it?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, Billy Joe said to me, do you mind if Tyson comes over? I said, of course not. And he come over, and I thought he's not interested in doing a bit of training. And he come over, and he was as big as a house, with his cool Tony Montana shirts on that he had, and you know, straight away we just clicked, and we started off with a run, and I said to him, just take it steady. But he was pushing and pushing and pushing. I thought, okay, and then like I say, I remember when we got into the gym for the first ever pad session, and I wrapped him up, gloved him up, and as he got in there, just a smile on his face, I knew he's got love for the sport like no other.
And that was all at the gym he was at?
That was all at MTK Marbella, yeah.
And now you go on these runs in the morning as well. Is there something you quite like about that, doing the run along the coast? It's sort of a bit nicer than doing it up north, isn't it?
100%, and you know, it's a lot easier to get out for a run when you got the nice weather, the sound of the beach, the smell of the sand, and the sea. You know, with the sun bouncing off it, it's pleasurable, and it's something that Tyson enjoys as well. And he said to me the other day, funnily enough, he said, it seems crazy to think that when now I run for pleasure. I'm doing this run now for pleasure. He said, as opposed to all my life I've run to lose weight. And, you know, if you can enjoy what you do, it makes a big difference.
He looks in great shape as well. It looks like he's actually lost weight over Christmas still, hasn't he? He went straight back in the gym the day after, more or less, didn't he?
Do you know what it is? You can't keep him out of the gym, to be honest. Can't keep him out. When I went on holiday after the fight, and every morning I was waking up to a text, when are you back, when are you back? I was thinking, oh, will you go away? But listen, it's, like I say, it's what we do for a living, and it's nice to enjoy what you do.
So, there it was, December 1st, obviously one of the biggest sporting events of the year, like, iconic boxing moment. Do you look back at it now? Because obviously we see some of the footage of you after the fight, absolutely raging. Are you a little bit sort of calmer about it, or are you still mad about the decision?
Disappointed more than mad. At the time,
that's the worst one, isn't it? Disappointed, not angry.
It is. Do you know what I mean? It's. I was annoyed at the time. I was very annoyed at the time, but it's just disappointment now, because I just, you know, we knew it was a possibility, but when that final bell went, I ran in the ring, and I thought to myself, my thought process was, there's no way they can not give it now. And with what's just happened, and they did it, and like I said, I was angry at first, and then I was disappointed now, looking back on it. But nonetheless, to have somebody go from where he was mentally, everybody's seen the physical change. It's clear to see, it's night and day. But that is only 10% of the real change. The full transformation is, and the main part of it has come mentally. And that means more to me than anything else, because big nights and that, they're all good, and you know, I'm not in this game for money or anything like that. To change somebody's life like that is, you know, it's not often that somebody gets a chance to do that, and just grateful for the opportunity, and you know, like I say, it's been a pleasure, so enjoyed it.
He's also, you speak to him now, he's also like a different person. Even from the Steffi fight, you know, he was a bit agitated, easily distracted, running around, causing trouble in tanning salons.
Yeah.
Whereas now you talk to him, he's calm, he's just sort of settled, isn't he?
Do you know what it is? That is what I'm talking about. Obviously, you've spent time around him. Do you know what I mean? Working with him and doing all the things that yourselves and BT have done for the promotion of it all. You can see it yourself how much he's changed, and going into the Sefa fight, there was a big difference from when he first started. From the Sefa fight to the Pianetta fight, there was a big difference. Then from Pianetta to Wilder, it was only when it come to fight week that I knew there's no beating him. No beating him. I could see how mentally strong he was, the mindset he was in. I thought there's nobody beating him, nobody. And people were saying to me, he's so relaxed and this, that and the other. And me, myself, to be honest, I was thinking people are going to think he's too relaxed. But just very confident in what Tyson can do. And in the right mindset, nobody's beating him, nobody.
That week, you talk about his calmness. Obviously, there was the press conferences, everything kicking off. You must be knackered from all that. The thought of a rematch must be draining you already, isn't it?
Honestly, people were saying, Steve Bunce was saying after, what about the rematch? And I was like, Steve, I need a holiday, I just need a break. But it has been full on. It wasn't just that, you know, those sort of training camps and big nights like that do take it out of you. But for us, it's been 14 months of it straight, solid, and it was tiring, it was hard work. So I had a little holiday and a little break, and it was nice, you know, it was nice. And whatever's up next, we're up for the challenge.
More pushing and shoving at press conferences, do you reckon?
Do you know what though? It was often them that started it, wasn't it? Other than, I'll tell you what happened in the first press conference. They started off on Tyson done a little test with him. So they started off on Good Morning Britain, and Tyson said, I'm going to be nice and polite with him and see how he reacts to that. And he was nice and polite back. Then he come out of Good Morning Britain and he said, right, now I'm going to put it on his toes and see how he reacts to that. And you saw how he reacted. And I knew then Tyson's controlling the tempo and how this is going to go, and the mindset and the mental battle. Tyson was in full control. And I don't think Wilder really realised that. And it showed in the fight.
How much did you learn from Tyson during what is your first like big mega fight week like that?
That fight week. That fight week. Do you know what it is? I've seen so many different times, and along the journey there's been so many different points where I thought that's what separates him from the rest. And I don't mean the rest as in the lower level fighters. I mean that's what separates him from the rest, the elite. Like his mindset and what he can push himself to, and his mental strength is just phenomenal. And then this is what I was thinking fight week, okay? So I was thinking, like, this man's on another planet mentally, like. And he come to me in the changing room, and he said, when he walked in, because I was already there with Isaac, I didn't bother going back to the hotel, I was already there. And he come to me in the changing room, and he put his hands on my shoulders. He said, now's my chance to tell you that I listen to everything that you tell me. And I thought, okay, good, that's what I wanted to hear. And then, like I say, his mental strength going in. As he was doing the ring walk, at first I was like, right, take your time. And I said, right, come in. And in the end, I was thinking, come on! He was loving it, walking along, enjoying it. And when Wilder done his ring walk, we was doing a little bit of pads in the ring. Just let the time go by. And before I left the ring to get out of the ring, I looked at him and said something to him. And I had his full concentration. I thought, that's when I thought, right, this is the difference. That's when I knew he's on another level. Then the 12th round come round, he got knocked down, and he got up, and I thought, not only is this man on another level mentally, but physically, because you don't see that. You don't see that happen in the first round when people get up and have their senses, balance.
Do a little jog.
Do a little jog and come back like he come back. And for that to happen in the 12th round, he's not, I said it so many times, he's a freak of nature, that man. He really is.
How much do you remember? Did you take it in? Like, were you trying to take in every moment when you weren't obviously concentrating on the fight? Did you think like, wow, I'm here? I try to think like that. I try to think, right, okay, take it in and enjoy the moment and that. But when you're focused and you're concentrating on your job at hand, it's hard to take it in, you know, because you're assessing things and your brain's working overtime on small little details that you're watching throughout the fight. You know, there's 3 minutes of action that I need to assess, and then I've got 1 minute to address it. Less than a minute by the time you get in there, sort a few bits out and get back out. So you don't have a chance to really take it all in, but I can remember it all. I can remember it all like it was yesterday, to be honest. It's quite funny when you look at the stuff in the corner between rounds, and you're just having a full conversation. what was Tyson say? He says, "Oh, I'm boxing well." It's like, "Oh, you're doing so well." It's like you're a proud father or something.
You know, everybody keeps saying that, and it was good. Obviously, BT done that. You know, the little bits in between the rounds and that, and there was Showtime. We've got some bits that happened outside the ring. I remember when in the 12th round, after Tyson got up, he started showboating, didn't he? He put his hands behind his back, and I remember Ricky. I was sat there, Freddie was sat there, Ricky was sat there. I can remember Ricky going, "No!" And then all of a sudden Tyson pulled out a right hand, left hook. And it was just like, emotions were, it was crazy, but it was one to remember for sure.
Do you reckon he realises that he was a part of like one of the sort of most iconic fights?
We had this conversation as well the other day, you know. We always talk a lot, and I think it helps. It's important that we do that, and we always discuss it. And I said to him, look, it's when you're in that, it's hard to understand it when you're in it. But I said to him, that will be an iconic fight that will go down in history. Certain moments in that fight as well. But that fight alone, you know, and that story will never be forgotten. You've never seen that happen before. And Muhammad Ali done something similar. But his time out of the ring, he was in the gym, he was training, he stayed in shape. Tyson didn't, you know, and he didn't go through the depression and all the things that Tyson went through. And, you know, Muhammad Ali, known as the greatest, he come back, but he didn't win that fight against Joe Frazier the first time round. Tyson come back and took on, you know, not just a champion, percentage-wise and stats, the biggest puncher in heavyweight history. And it'll take time, but eventually that will be remembered in history. And it might only sink in for Tyson when he retires, you know, but obviously it's people around him that can help remind him of that and let him know that he's been part of something that not far off a miracle, to be honest.
I think it's also the thing that was missing from his career a little bit, wasn't it? It was that kind of, he went to Germany and beat Klitschko, but it was, as he always says, he was like a different man then, and it obviously led to the 2 years out. Now he's got that sort of moment that everyone remembers fondly, because people talk about the Klitschko fight because, you know, it wasn't the most exciting fight ever, was it? People kind of put it down, even though it was a great win, it never got the credit it deserved. But I think it does mean quite a lot for Tyson to be involved in historical moments, and now he's got one, hasn't he?
Of course, and the problem is that it's the same. Klitschko has a similar sort of problem. Everybody looks at he's boring and this and that, and obviously he had a good fight with Anthony Joshua, and Tyson's gone and had that epic fight with Deontay Wilder. But it was the clash of styles with Klitschko. He'd been knocked out before, so he'd learnt from his mistakes. So he wasn't too. He was not gun shy, not the right word, but he was very, very smart and knew his distance and knew not to take too many risks at that level. Whereas Deontay Wilder, he hasn't had that happen yet, and he was willing to take risks, and it caused for him to get hit more often than, you know, Vladimir Klitschko was hit. And obviously, Deontay had his own some success in the fight, as Klitschko did. But it's an iconic moment that, like you say, Tyson will be remembered for. But not only the fight in itself, the courage and the that it took for Tyson to take that test, because I was one for it. That I said before, I said to him, take a couple more fights, because not that he didn't have the skill set and wasn't capable of beating Deontay Wilder, but it would have made it an easier chance, an easier option, and an easier fight with a little bit of time, because who loses 10 stone and goes in and fights the biggest puncher in heavyweight history? It's not a sensible thing to do, is it? But that's Tyson. And for him to pull it off the way he did do it, because myself, I class it as a win. I think 90% of the boxing world does. So I don't look back on it and say, we had a draw. I look back on it and I class it as a win, because, you know, I think, like I say, 90% of people would agree with that. And for him to do that was just, from where, because obviously nobody will ever see the details of what went on throughout that year, just over a year. And not far off a miracle, like I said, mad.
So you said then you would have rather he had a couple of fights beforehand. Now, in your perfect world, how do his fights line up for the next year or so?
It's who puts the best offer in first, you know? Who puts the best offer in first? We're sitting at the top of the tree because Joshua said he wants to fight Wilder. Wilder said he wants to fight us. So everybody makes their moves depending on what we do. And Tyson is looked at as the #1 heavyweight now because of what he's done and the performance that he's pulled off. I think it's sunk in with people now how good he really is. And either fight's a good fight. Obviously, negotiations have to be held. But we're open to either fight. I said to him this morning, funny enough, the biggest risk and the worst route and the worst fight he could have took, he's done it. Because after losing 10 stone, you can't be 100% after losing 10 stone. He's lost a light welterweight off his body. And how are you going to be 100% doing that? So he's gone into that fight 60%. So from what I'm seeing in the gym now, I always said for a long time, when I get to give him a rest and come back to him, it'll be frightening, and I know about it. I've done 3 or 4 days on the pads with him. I have to have a rest. I said to him yesterday, you're going to have to hit that bag today because he's butchered me. And it's going to be frightening when whoever steps in with him next, because he'll be 100% then.
Do you think Deontay Wilder's going to underestimate him again? Because he said in the press conference after the fight, he said, I took on the best Tyson Fury, but that wasn't the best Deontay Wilder. Do you think he believes that?
No. Do I think he believes it? I don't know if he believes it, but this is an interesting thing because throughout, obviously, my job is to assess the opponent, and you can't just assess them tactically. You have to assess them physically, mentally, emotionally, as well as tactically. And throughout that build-up, I noticed a reoccurring pattern with Wilder where he was constantly trying to convince himself to build mental confidence of something that's not true. So if Tyson said, I'm going to knock him out, he'd come out and say, he doesn't believe he could knock me out, or you know, he needs this, he needs that, or he couldn't handle Big Bear, or he's had to employ Freddie because he don't trust Ben, and this, that and the other. That was him doing things to try and build confidence within himself. And that's a weakness. And that was the difference between the two of them, because Tyson was so realistic about the situation. Throughout camp, we talk about certain scenarios that could happen, bad scenarios that could happen, yet being realistic about them. And that was the difference. And that's why when I talk about Tyson, I say how he's on a different level mentally. Because a lot of fighters do that, and it's a weakness. They need to try and convince themselves of something. I don't know if it's Wilder or his team around him, they're lovely people, but that is a weakness from them that I see, especially going into that fight. Going into the fight fight week press conference, he said he didn't beat Vladimir Klitschko. Klitschko beat himself. He didn't throw enough shots. Then straight after the fight, it was, I threw too many shots, I was too eager, and this, that, and the other. Which is it? And until he can sit down and assess it and be honest with himself of what happened in that fight, he won't improve.
So respect for teams. I think there's probably a little issue that's worth mentioning in the own team. I think it's all settled now, isn't it? But what was the deal with Freddie? And did he ring you and apologise after that interview and everything like that?
Yeah, I went online and I saw the interview and that, and I was a bit shocked by it at first. But obviously, Freddie's fantastic trainer. That he's a legend in the game. He's bound to have his own philosophies and his own thoughts and his own opinion, which is not a problem, you know. Normally you wouldn't have somebody of that stature being a second. So normally he'd be number one. He's not used to being in that position. So maybe he was a little bit more outspoken than he should have been, as what he said to me. But it's not a problem. I said to him, he rang me, he said, look, it was took out of context. I didn't mean it how it come across. I was just talking about what potentially we could work on for a potential rematch. I said, Freddie, not a problem. Like I said, every trainer's got their own philosophies, their own ideas. But at the end of the day, I'm Tyson's trainer and I make the decisions. And I don't think we went too far wrong, to be honest. So.
And now you getting the respect you deserve as a trainer. Before, people have always been on your back saying you're too young, you're too young, you're too young. All of a sudden, Trainer of the Year, or nominee. Yeah.
Nominated, yeah, for Ring Magazine Trainer of the Year, which was an honour. But that's the public, innit? That's the world. It's a fickle place, and if all had gone wrong, then it would have all been my fault. So, you know, you just got to take it all with a pinch of salt, and it is what it is.
So lots of praise in the comments for this one, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and Ben, lovely, top man.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Cheers.